So I saw this video by creator Abby Eckel, right? And she said men want the woman that they married, but they never take responsibility for the woman that they made her become. And oh my God, I felt that in my bones. But of course, the comments were full of swap the genders. Okay, now the reverse. Well, let's talk about that, right? Why that line hits so hard for women and why it's not the same when you flip it. I'm Lisa Sonni, a toxic and abusive relationship expert, and I help women rebuild after destructive, toxic, or abusive relationships. If you want to understand why you changed and how to get yourself back, subscribe because that is what I do here. It feels true because women are socialized to adapt, right? From the time that we're little, we notice to learn moods and anticipate needs and fix problems that aren't ours. Well, when a relationship starts to fall apart, we don't walk away right away. We adjust. And that adjustment changes you. You start managing his emotions, you downplay your own, you build tolerance for behavior that used to make you cry, right? You stop asking for things because asking always leads to a fight. So yeah, you changed, but you didn't become that woman out of nowhere. You were made through repetition, through emotional conditioning, and years of being told that your needs were too much. Now, sociologist Arlie Hochschild called this emotional labor, right? That's the invisible work that women do to keep relationships running. Well, later, Harvard researcher Allison Daminger found that women carry the mental load too, right? Noticing, anticipating, fixing. So when men say, yeah, you're not the same person I married, it's like, yeah, because you kept breaking the person I was. They want the loving, easygoing woman they met, but they don't maintain the conditions that made her feel safe enough to stay loving and easygoing. You can't keep betraying somebody else's trust and then act all confused because now she's guarded. You can't keep minimizing her pain and dismissing her and then be pissed off that she's not as kind to you, right? That's not love lost, that's safety lost. And the change that they complain about, it's just the natural result. So when men say she just became cold, no, she became realistic, right? Now, there's this other video that I saw recently where this woman was talking about how she knew exactly the perfect sandwich that her husband loves, and she could make him the perfect sandwich by the first year of marriage, but he couldn't make her one that she loved. And I know a lot of men are going to like roll their eyes. It's a sandwich, right? You're missing the point, unsurprisingly. That's not the issue. It's not a sandwich. It's a reflection of how she spent their marriage loving him and knowing him, and he didn't reciprocate. Relationship researchers John and Julie Gottman have studied thousands of couples, right? And they found that women are far more likely to bring up relationship issues and try to actually repair them, while men are more likely to stonewall, emotionally withdraw, or just shut down, specifically to avoid accountability. So when a woman finally stops trying, it's not where the problem began, right? It's where her energy just ran out. The silence that he feels from her is the product of every ignored attempt that came before it. And that's why this isn't gender neutral. Emotional labor and repair work fall mostly on women. And that's not my opinion. It's a fact. It's data. Men's social, financial, and physical power in relationships, it sets the tone. Women are taught to maintain connection and men are taught to expect it. So when a woman changes, it's usually reactive, a nervous system response to feeling unsafe or unappreciated or just completely dismissed. Judith Herman in Trauma and Recovery, it's an amazing book. She explained that when people live under chronic emotional threat, they adapt by numbing and detaching and appeasing to whatever keeps them safe. Now that's what men call coldness, but it's not cruelty. She's protecting herself, probably unconsciously. And when men change, it's often for a different reason, right? They change when their power is threatened, not when empathy kicks in. Lundy Bancroft, who's worked with abusive men for decades, right? He says that remorse and so-called change usually appear right after the victim leaves. Well, that's not growth. That's control anxiety, right? The behavior shifts because the power balance did. And in the case of an abusive man, that remorse is not real. It's performative. It's all about optics, right? Pulling her back in, keeping access. But for non-abusive men, maybe the remorse is real, but the timing is still really interesting, right? If it only shows up when it costs him something, gives you pause. When the relationship is over, when her absence disrupts his comfort, when the reflection of himself through her eyes is gone, that's when he suddenly realizes what she felt all along. And it's not empathy first, it's loss first. And that's what brings me to the group of men who call themselves divorced out of nowhere. I first heard it in 2023, but it's been a thing for decades. It's this massive online community of men claiming that they were just blindsided by their wives leaving. And I'm telling you, when I first heard it, it was on a page called Honest Appraisal. I didn't believe it. I was like, there's no way this is existing out there. There's no way that there's this group of men. Didn't make any sense to me because women are famous for talking too much, right? For complaining, for nagging, all the words used to discredit a woman's pain. So how could these men not know? It literally baffled me, but it's real. It is a huge group. They're shocked and confused, and yet there is no equivalent group for women, right? There's no this group of women saying, I was divorced out of nowhere. It doesn't exist because women don't leave without trying. They leave after years of being dismissed, after warning him 1,000 times, after begging for change that never came. He didn't hear her. And not because she wasn't trying or because she was silent, because he didn't listen until it cost him something. Now, this is part of what sociologists call the responsibility gap, the pattern where men externalize blame and women internalize it. Michael Flood and Bell Hooks both wrote about it. Flood called it the way men are socialized to view their behavior as reactions to women, while Hooks said that the patriarchy conditions men to just deny responsibility for their pain by blaming women for it. He'll say she's distant instead of I made her feel unsafe. He'll say she never wants sex instead of she stopped feeling desired because of how I treat her. Psychologist Harriet Lerner actually described the same thing in her book, The Dance of Anger. She said that women become the emotional barometers of a relationship. They sense disconnection first and they get blamed for reacting to it. And therapist Esther Perel points out that men often see a woman's dissatisfaction as nagging, while women see men's passivity as indifference. Different stories, right? Same pattern. She self-blames and he deflects. And that pattern even shows up in psychology research. Studies on psychological reactance, the angry response that people have when they feel that their control is threatened, show that men raised to equate dominance with identity often react this way when a woman sets boundaries or says no. So yeah, women change because they're surviving, and men often change because they're losing control. Those are not the same thing. And I know people say swap the genders, and honestly, any gender can be selfish, controlling, abusive, emotionally unavailable. I get it, no doubt, no doubt. But the pattern that we're talking about here isn't isolated behavior. It's about who's been trained to adapt and who's been trained to expect adaptation. So even in healthy relationships, women tend to overfunction emotionally, right? We apologize first, we accommodate, we shapeshift, and when we finally stop, when we withdraw or set boundaries or just stop catering to his every need, it feels like betrayal to men who believed that they were owed our softness forever. And that's why swap the genders doesn't land. That's why those men are just embarrassing themselves in the comment sections. Women's change is reactive to pain, but men's anger at that change is reactive to losing privilege. And that doesn't mean that all men are abusers or incapable of emotional accountability. It just means that the system that they grow up in rewards them for not having to be. Now, to be fair, not every man is cruel. Not every relationship is abusive, right? Obviously, sometimes two people just grow in different directions, and the woman's change isn't trauma, it's clarity. And sometimes men do change in healthy ways, right? They learn to listen, to evolve alongside their partner. And when that happens, both people are shaping each other. And that's growth and not damage, right? So yeah, men can also feel abandoned or blindsided when a woman disengages without any kind of warning. And that pain is real, but context still matters. And the question isn't who changed first. The question is who had to change to survive and who only changed when they lost control of the narrative. When women say men want the woman they married, but not the woman they created, they're not talking about a personality shift or a bad week. They're talking about a slow destruction. The woman who used to light up when he walked in the room stopped glowing because she kept walking on eggshells. The woman who used to plan exciting, fun date nights stopped planning it because it turned into rejection or he never appreciated it. The woman who used to trust him stopped trusting because he gave her reasons not to. So when he says, "You're not the same person I fell in love with," she's thinking, "No, I'm not, because you taught me not to be." And you just can't always just swap the genders. I don't understand why people think that there's no context. You can't just flip things. Not when the system itself teaches men to take and women to compensate. And if that stings, good, because discomfort is how we see what we've been refusing to name. Discomfort is where growth happens. And if this hit home, I help women rebuild after toxic and abusive relationships using my break and rebuild method. The link is in the description to work with me one-on-one or in one of my group coaching programs. The Trauma Bond Recovery Program helps women leave and stay gone, and Rise and Rebuild, that program helps women rebuild their sense of self. And I co-host both of these with author, researcher, and retired therapist Dr. Peter Salerno. And if you want more videos that connect the dots between gender and power and abuse and healing, hit subscribe.